Hey everyone, my name is Lily and I'm the book blogger behind Utopia State of Mind, and this is actually the first video that I am filming in 2022. I haven't filmed anything yet, so this is the first one. And I thought I would do a quick 2021 wrap up / 2022 resolution kind of video thing. So that's the plan. We'll start off with a 2021 wrap up. I don't have any of my stats handy. I'm pretty sure that a 2021 wrap up is coming to the blog, and that's where you'll see all the stats of how many Asian books I read, how many books with authors / characters of color, all of those stats, goodness stuff. And that's where that will be. All I can tell you right now, because I haven't calculated any of that, or if I did, I don't know. Time truly in 2022, as I think a lot of people feel like in 2020 and 2021, just doesn't have any, just don't know anything about it. Also, my filming setup is very different for today's video because I've wanted to charge the camera and I forgot. So I film on my phone, which is why everything looks a little bit different and I look a little bit different. But going back to 2021, I read a total of 438 books. I didn't do, at the end of every month and at the end of every year, I try to do this thing where I do the reviews so that I can show a big snapshot. I didn't. I basically just marked them as read and kind of moved on. Now I'm going through the process of going to do that, and that's a lot, which is why I haven't been doing that much, period. Kind of anywhere in social media. So 438 books. That's a lot of books. And because of that, it's my most I've ever read, I think, period, in a year. And so after that, I'm kind of well, I don't really know what to do anymore, right? I read a lot of books. And so the burnout, and this is kind of the segue, I guess, to my 2021 year wrap up and also 2022 resolutions. The burnout that I was feeling at the end of December was the worst that I have ever felt in my entire life as a person, which is why I took so much of a break in December and January. I just, even at the end of December or all of December, I've kind of I've already read 400-ish books. I just don't want to read anything actually in December, but I had to. So that's kind of where I ended 2021 with, which is why mentally and creatively I've just been so drained and not really present here. When I am starting to film my 2021 best of, right? My favorite debut authors, my favorite YA sci-fi, all of these categories. So stay tuned for that in the next couple months. Those will be coming. They're becoming way slower than they did in 2021, my best of 2020s. But they are coming. I made a list, and so I made a list of all of my 5-star reads or something. There's a lot. I don't remember the actual number, but there are a lot. And so those videos are coming. But yeah, 2021, if I had to sum it up in one word for the entire year, it was burnout. And I felt I think that on this channel and on my blog and on social media, I've talked a lot about feeling, ups and downs of burnout and the mental connection between reading. And I think that in 2022, and this segues to my New Year's resolutions, I think in 2022, what I really want to do is reevaluate that connection that I have between reading and between reviewing and being on social media and being a person in the book community, I guess. And that's going to be really hard because I've been blogging now for 6 years or over 6 years. So book reviewing, been on Bookstagram for a really long time, probably 5 years. Twitter, probably 60, a lot of time now. And then this will be kind of the wrapping up of my first year in Book Talk. So I'm all over the place now. And I think that what I really have to think about in 2022 is, as I said, reevaluating that connection between reading and reviewing, and between kind of bringing it back to why I review, why I do what I do, and sort of simplifying my life a little bit, I guess. I don't know. It's weird because at the beginning of January, when I was thinking about making this video, I was okay, I feel really good about it. I'm going to totally pare it down. I'm going to read less. And then, of course, it's like, oh my God, I'm so behind, which is true. I am so behind on February uh, and March, basically on the spring. Basically, February and March, I'm really behind. Those are my two big months for like the next 4 or 5 months because I feel like publishing goes in waves. And so it was weird. At the beginning of January, I was really feeling good about it. I was like, yeah, I feel better. I've had a break a little bit. I felt very guilt ridden, right? That's another thing, right? To decouple, I guess, that connection between not reading and guilt for me is huge. I, it would be optimistic to say that I could do that this year. I don't think I can. So I was feeling better, and then I sat down, I looked at creating a TBR for January, which, by the way, I'm not really going to do TBR videos anymore. They're really stressful to make. And I really like seeing them kind of like as a person, especially on TikTok, where it's like, oh, did I read this book on my TBR? But I'm just gonna not, I just can't make them really anymore. They're just not like good for my mental stability. And so as I was sitting down to make my TBR though, thinking that I'd film a video, which I'm not going to, I realized I'm so behind on February. And so then all of that, like, kind of coping mechanism, well, not coping mechanisms, but all of that kind of like cycle, right, of guilt and not feeling okay about my reading choices and my choice to read less, all of that kind of kicked back up again. And I was kind of like, no, I have to read as much as I can. I have to review the books I didn't review in 2021. Like, I have to do all of these things. And so for the last week, basically, I've been kind of back in that toxic thought heap. And so it this kind of like reevaluation mentality is not going to be something that I can do, in January. It's going to be something that I have to slowly kind of start dismantling, because I could talk forever, but I feel like one of the things that really contributes to this is this idea that like my self-value lies in my productivity. I've been talking about this a lot with a bunch of other people, authors, book bloggers, like just people in general. And because of that, I feel like that's one of the foundational things in my life that helps this get so bad and so toxic and so guilty to myself. So that's hard. When I actually sit down and think about how to put these thoughts into action, like actually a plan of action, which right now I don't have a plan of action. Right now it's just kind of like, I'm so upset, I don't know what to do. Then if people want to, and if people comment, then I can definitely kind of share that. I mean, I have ideas about what I want, but it's kind of those things where I used to have a habit tracker, and I'd go and I'd be like, okay, I have to do this. And then all of a sudden it kind of been like, oh, I want to do yoga because yoga really makes me feel good. But now I feel like I have to do yoga, and that makes it really feel awful. So it's one of those things where it just evolves or devolves, and it turns into something where it's like, okay, this is what I want to do for my mental health. But then to me, it always turns into like, okay, but I have to do this. And then those same toxic thoughts switch over, and they switch over to that habit that I'm trying to do, or, to read less, for example. So it's a work in progress, and it's certainly hard. I'm really happy to, I guess, document my struggle, because I feel like I talk about it a lot with people, but I don't really hear it talked about a lot, and especially in the book reviewing community, because at some points I'm like, oh, I want to talk about how much I'm struggling, with ARCs and with the pressure and with the guilt, the pressure of wanting to read these because I know how much it means to authors and commitments to publishers. But I feel also like sometimes that seems a little bit entitled, or that's the vibe that I get from reactions to that kind of stuff, which is not at all what I'm going for, right? I've been blogging for 6 years. I've tried to establish, you know, a personality online. Like, I've established followings. I've done a lot of work. I've established like good relationships with publishing houses. And so I do feel like there's a lack of conversation about those kinds of things. And so much of it is kind of like, these are how you can get ARCs. But I feel like there's not that much conversation about those kinds of feelings, and the way that it is such a prevalent theme in so many conversations that I'm having with book talkers, bookstagrammers, like book reviewers, all of these people, where we're all kind of talking about this guilt and this pressure and this way that it's kind of treating our reading and our performance of reading and our performance of being in these online spaces. And I don't know, one of the panels I'm trying to think about doing in 2022 would be directly talking about this, because I feel like there aren't that many conversations being opened up about it. And I think that, to me, I think a really bad analogy is, to me, how everyone's kind of like, well, not everyone, but there are some people who are kind of like, oh, I want to start a YouTube so I can be famous, and that's so I can get brand deals and I can get sponsorships and it's going to be great. And then less conversations about, okay, but then when I have more of these opportunities, how do I deal with contracts? How do I deal with like maintaining my own sense of objectivity, and reviewing, if that's what you do, all of these different things. And so maybe this is a good conversation starter, hopefully. So yeah, this is kind of the end of my thoughts, I guess, about 2022. Is that kind of, if I had to make a resolution, it's very easy to be like, oh, read less, right? But no, I think my resolution is a little bit more qualitative than that. And it's kind of like, reevaluate my relationship to reading. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's not about, okay, I need to read 437 books next year. No, it's about finding again, or like bringing it back to why I read, and bringing all of my actions back to that kind of core idea, and changing how I feel about reading. Because I feel like right now it feels like something that either is so guilt-ridden when I'm not doing it, or very kind of like, oh, I have to read. And I don't know how much of this is just based on me as a person and my bullet journal, all of these different things. So I feel like my resolution is more qualitative than kind of just read less, which is all I really think about when I write, just read less. So I'm not really sure what that entails, and I'm not really sure what that will be, kind of actionable plans, because I do want to have an actionable kind of like really deep think about, okay, where can you read less, or where can you reevaluate this relationship? What kind of areas, a big thing, actually, if I had a second resolution, a big thing that ties into that resolution is devoting or developing hobbies and interests that are not related to reading. Because I feel like reading and being a reader and being a book person has kind of become my personality, and that's not really all that I am as a person. So cultivating hobbies that are outside of that. So for example, I'm really devoting a lot of time into knitting, and cultivating other hobbies and other spaces and joys and things that I talk about, for example, is on my list. And so I guess if I had to say anything about kind of like actionable plans about this idea of qualitatively changing my relationship to reading, that would be the thing, is that at least for January and February, I'm trying to really think about how I can cultivate these other hobbies, and kind of how I can change how I feel about my interests, I guess. If that makes any sense. I don't know. I knew this video was going to be super rambly, specifically because, it's not like I have pie charts and things that I can show, and like stacks of books. This is certainly not an aesthetic 2021 wrap up or an aesthetic 2022 resolutions, but this is kind of where I am mentally, and I just wanted to take you on that journey, try to open up the conversation about pressures and guilt that you might feel as a book reviewer. I know that that's certainly book reviewer related and not necessarily reader related, but so yeah, that is the wrap up. As I said, there are 2021 like best of, videos coming, and as I said, if people are interested, then I can sort of talk more about that pressure and open that conversation up more to other people. I would really enjoy that if there is an interest for that here on this platform. I know I'm talking to other people on different platforms, but I mean specifically on YouTube. And I hope you have a really great, or I hope you've had a really great 2022 reading year so far. The books that I have read, even though I've been like pushing myself to keep reading, and that toxic kind of hamster wheel is kicking back up, even though I'm right now in that mood, the books that I have been reading are really good, and so I'm really happy about that. And so yeah, I hope to see you in the next videos, hopefully when my camera is charged, and we can chat about favorite books and January wrap-ups, because that is coming up way sooner than I thought. And that's terrifying. Anyway, I hope you have a really great day. I hope you take a little moment for yourself, cultivate your own hobbies besides reading. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye.